What's the fastest way to find love? I want you to do this. We're going to dive into this conversation today. And some of it's going to be personal because as I reflect back on the last 20 years of my life, my journey has been very painstaking to get to the place where I genuinely believe I have the love of my life right now. And while it might be too early to say this from a definitive place, I probably have to look 20 years from now and connect the dots backward. I can share with you that the journey of the last 20 years has taught me a lot about how to actually look at this process in a much faster way. Now, it's interesting. I was watching a clip from the movie The Materialist, which is about a matchmaker in New York helping people find love. And there's a question that's being asked for her. Is it hard to find love? And she recites the character recites, no, it's not hard to find love. And she goes, but dating is radically hard. It takes a lot of risk. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of self-awareness. So we're going to cover 5 keys to make this experience much faster from a dating and relationship perspective. Because the reality is dating and relationships are the training ground to actually attract love in our lives. We take it for granted. We have this, when I say we, I'm saying the collective we, seems to have this magical belief that, love should just fall in our lap, that Cupid should just hit us in the derriere, and it should just be this easy. And dating should be equally as easy, and relationships should be just as equally easy. But the reality is dating today is a gigantic pain in the ass compared to what it must have been like 50 years ago. I can't know that because I was practically a baby 50 years ago. But certainly when we look at dating today, it's much more complicated. And certainly just even being in relationships is complicated. But here's the secret to finding love much faster. So what are those 5 keys? The first key is fall in love with yourself. Now, it's not that you completely fall in love with yourself, but begin the process of loving oneself. When I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. By the way, there's a link to get all the books I recommend. The idea is self-love. Loving oneself is a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of improving your emotional regulation system. It's a journey of becoming more emotionally mature. And hopefully it's also a journey of having better relationship skills. I can share with you, from the moment I got divorced over 20 years ago, I literally operated from the premise, I need you to love me so I could feel good about myself. I need you to love me so I could feel good about myself. I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. Now, when I say you, I just simply meant the person sitting across from me on a date. Kind of reminds me of the line in the movie Jerry Maguire, you complete me. See, the idea is to fill your love cup on your own, not chasing from a place of emptiness, from a place of, I can't stand being by myself. It's really, nobody else can do the job of loving yourself unless you do it for yourself. So what does that look like? Loving yourself? Well, first, recognizing that in romantic relationships, women in particular have a propensity to give their power away to a man, that the relationship is all predicated based on how the man views the relationship. And while I certainly don't subscribe to that, I subscribe to a co-creative experience. Certainly men and women should take the lead in their own love life. And ladies, let me just say this, when you want the man to take the lead in your love life, you're giving the job oftentimes to the wrong person. You are in charge of your relationship destiny. And sure, I wish I could be there for you ladies on a first date as your big brother. And I would have a shotgun pointed at the guy's head and saying, what's your intentions with my little sister? And for the men watching, I invite you to be more intentional. Look, online dating has created a portal where we can have easy access to people. But is it just about having a good time? Is it about getting a quick lay? Or do you have the intent to have genuine love in your life? Do you want to have a love partner and a life partner in your life? And I invite the men and women who are listening to this to ask themselves that question. and starting with loving on yourself first. Number 2, shift from seeking to becoming. Shift from seeking to becoming. There's a difference between chasing love and radiating love. See, again, if we have a hole inside of us that says, I need you to love me to feel good about myself, then you are in the chasing mode. You're in a place of desperation. Instead of radiating love by having, there's a quote that I say, create a life so amazing that you become the reality show people want to watch. What does that look like? Having your own hobbies, having your own friends, having a life outside of love, because many people might not experience a romantic relationship. And yet the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself. So cultivate love within yourself and shift from from seeking to becoming. People catch a whiff of that and they will lean in. When you will become a magnetic attractor for what you want when you shift from seeking to becoming. And if this resonates with you, write a comment about this. I want to hear your thoughts about shifting from seeking to becoming. Okay. Number 3, heal the wounds that block intimacy. Look, I said it before when I talked about self-love and inner work. You can build a palace of love on a foundation of quicksand, but it's time to unpack the baggage of your life. Look at, most of us come to the table with some level of childhood wounds or adult traumas that makes it difficult for us to open up to love. We're blocked in the form of intimacy. Some people have known as an anxious attachment style. Some people have are known to have what's known as an avoidant attachment style. And this is how you attach to another person. Think of, by the way, write down how many relationships you've had that have lasted 3 months or longer. And reflect upon what happened in those relationships. And do you find yourself bitter or jaded? And certainly if you're a person who has had multiple sexual partners, you might be desensitized to love. You might be desensitized to a relationship. In the online dating world, this is known as a body count. And sadly, both men and women have had so many physical sexual partners that it makes it difficult to open up to love. And you got to ask yourself, what caused one to chase all of that? Is there a wound that is inside that needs healing? Folks, I'm here to say, I don't care whether you, by the way, I'd venture to say less than 10% or 15% of the population here in the United States has done any type of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work to heal those wounds. If you haven't read the book, The Hoffman Process, this is a deep dive into healing those wounds. And this is, by the way, doing this work accelerates your capacity to attract love in your life. So actually working on these wounds, whatever they look like for you. Now, when I talk about wounds and traumas, folks, I'm not talking about physical abuse per se, or even severe emotional abuse. Believe it or not, we could have had micro traumas, micro wounds in our lives. Just even an average normal childhood could have had micro traumas that affects you as an adult. By the way, if you've been on this planet for at least 30, 40, 50 years, and you've spent at least 5 or 10 years on social media, you are bombarded within the algorithm to encourage personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. And this is designed to better prepare you. The fastest way to find love in your life is when you do work on yourself. Number 4, practice patience, not performance. I'm going to repeat that. Practice patience, not performance. You know, we're in this performative culture, and I'm here to suggest quit auditioning for the role of the perfect partner. This isn't a Broadway play. This is real life. You know, we have this narrative that it's all based on attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. We must perform in the area of entertainment and romance. We men are expected to do that. You ladies are expected to perform. Performance is not how you're going to attract love in the fastest way. You might have a temporary experience. There's no doubt. Performance can achieve a temporary experience, but being patient, meaning being patient in that asking those deeper questions early on just to see if you're on the same page. One of the things I do in my private coaching, and by the way, if you want some support from me, there's a link below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. One of the exercises we do is called radical honesty, pre-qualifying your prospect. This is about asking those deeper questions from the very get-go. But Jonathan, I'm told to just sit in my feminine energy and wait for a man to lead. I'm not supposed to ask questions because that's an interview. Do you realize dating is about getting to know someone? How do you get to know someone? Asking questions. It is an interview. In fact, quite frankly, it's an interrogation. But what is an interrogation? It's about getting to the truth of a person. That's my invitation for you, is to get to the truth of another human being by asking deeper questions and being patient around this process, not accelerating the process through performance. And number 5, the fastest way to find love: trust divine timing while taking aligned action. Trust divine timing while taking aligned action. Part of it is faith, but part of it is effort too. You can't bully the universe into delivering your soulmate by Amazon Prime. You must also manifest love. And you can't manifest love by binge watching Netflix with your dog or cat or your pet. And what I mean to say is, taking inspired action, taking line action. Look at whether you like it or not, online dating is the key. Online dating right now is the number one place to meet a potential life partner. Online dating is the number one place to meet a potential life partner. So you may hate it, you may dislike it, but it's still the best place. And I'm here to say people are falling in love all the time through this medium. Cindy was kind enough to post this for everyone. Love yourself, shift from seeking to becoming, heal the wounds that block intimacy, practice patience, not performance, trust divine timing while taking aligned action. So I want to be very blunt with everybody. I've been at this for 20 years to find the life partner that I genuinely believe I have in my life right now. It's been painstaking. It hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of work, but that work has come with, the journey has been so amazing. Prior to my current life partner, I had 2 significant relationships, beautiful relationships, collectively 8 of those 20 years. Is that about right? 6 years plus. And I had a number of, a lot of first dates with people. I did a lot of personal development, self-help, spiritual work. I did the Hoffman process. I did insight and seminars. I spent half a decade in so much pain in the early stages where I went to bed wishing I didn't wake up. I did drugs, alcohol. I chased sex. It's one of the reasons why I can coach about and I went through a contentious divorce. One of the reasons why I can talk about this, because I share from a lived experience. Folks, I don't want you to have to wait 20 years. I'm here to encourage a faster way to get there. If I could easily, if I look back now, I could have condensed those 20 years probably down to 5 years if I know what I know today. But sometimes we have to go through. That's what we have to go through to get what we want. This is the dating and relationships is like weight training at the gym. It's like exercise. If you want to change your body, if you happen to be hundreds of pounds overweight, you're going to have to do radical work to get what you want. And this fantasy that we live in, that love should just be handed to us on a silver platter, is a crock of shit. It is. I mean, it's the fantasy many people live in. Excuse me for screaming. I'm just very passionate right now. What's going to shift all of this? I'm saying the work is to really get clarity on what are your core values. What do you really value most? What are your core needs in a relationship? Someone write that down, your core value and your core needs in a relationship. Have clarity on that and ask yourself, how can I identify that in another person? How can I identify that? Because you guys are living in a fantasy world that chemistry is going to equal relationship success. And again, I'm going to say this again, that's a crock of shit. Your core value, your core needs. Also, what is the vision you have of a relationship? What do you want it to look like day in, day out? You guys are operating from a fantasy like men are supposed to know all this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at a calendar and write out what days of the week are you spending together? What are you doing together? Visualize this for a future. Have an idea of what that vision looks like. Also, you have to recognize for those of us in midlife, and I say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement. That's the age demographic I speak to. Look, at most of us have a fully curated life and somebody else has a fully curated life. And if you can't blend lives together, it's going to be very problematic. The idea for those of us in midlife is to recognize that lifestyle compatibility plays a huge role in relationship success. But Jonathan, if we love each other, magic fairy dust will make it all work out because magic fairy dust has been working for billions of years. Folks, if magic fairy dust was the antidote, meaning love will just solve all your problems, then why is the divorce rate so high? Why are people so miserable? Love doesn't solve the problems. Being aligned in your values, your vision, your needs, and most importantly, and lastly, emotional maturity. We have a population of emotionally dysfunctional people. And here's the funny part. Everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else. You're emotionally dysfunctional. You're emotionally dysfunctional. They're not looking at those three fingers pointing back. For many of you watching, you think you're so emotionally mature and you have such good relationship skills. You have such good communication skills. Watch an episode of couples therapy. It fascinates me how many of the men and women are doing this, pointing the finger at their partner when they should be looking in the mirror. Do you know what? By the way, to have a successful relationship today, it takes ninja level skills from a communication perspective. I highly recommend reading 2 books. Read the book Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg and read the book I Hear You by Michael Sorensen, The Surprisingly Simple Skills Behind Extraordinary Relationships. Folks, many of you have a fantasy believing that you're good at communicating. And just for the guys listening, just because you tend to be logical doesn't mean you're good at active listening, doesn't mean you're actually paying attention to your partner. So just own up. Just because you have logical thinking doesn't necessarily make you any better at this than anyone else. And I want to end on this note. Folks, if you want to change your love life the fastest way possible, not only do I invite you to look at these 5 keys I just shared, I'm inviting you all look in the mirror and do what this book title says. What does that book title say? Shut up, stop whining, and get a life. By the way, this book by Larry Winget, A Kick-Butt Approach to a Better Life. I read this 20 years ago, one of the first things I read after my divorce. And I can say to this day, it still plays a huge role in my life because I'm going to tell you something. Whining about this just keeps you stuck. Have a vision for a beautiful, loving, passionate, romantic, playful relationship in your life. I invite you all. In fact, I send a prayer to you all. For everyone listening, here's the vision I have for everyone. That you have amazing relationship where the chemistry between the two of you, both energetic, intellectual, emotional, creative, and physical, is off the charts. That's my invitation for everyone. Also, The communication between the two of you is wonderful, where the banter can go on for hours and hours at a time. And you have the capacity to resolve conflicts and differences with ease because you're coming from a place of love, and your lifestyles are blendable with one another through compatibility, not just because you love sushi and pickleball, because you can blend your lives with ease together, and you have the emotional maturity to navigate the bumps along the way. And lastly, you build the deep roots of trust through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, and intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to the deeper roots of trust, where you can either choose to live together or live together, or get married at some point, whether it's spiritual or legal. God, universe, spirit, I invite that for everyone. That's the vision I hold for everyone watching today. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to follow me on Instagram, social media, get my dating vows listed, all below.